What is up, everybody, and welcome to FLW Videos. I'm so excited to talk about today's topic centered around lucky friends in Pokemon Go. We will be talking about the mechanics associated to it, as well as answering some common questions that you might have, and then finally, I'm going to give you recommendations on the top Pokemon that I would focus on once you can get yourself a lucky friend. Anyways, I hope you do enjoy this video. If it is helpful, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. We are so close to hitting 80,000 subscribers, and your support would mean the world to me. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. The first thing that we can focus on is a graphic that came out by the Pokemon Go Hub team. If you go ahead and take a look at step 1 of how to become a lucky friend, the first thing that you have to know is that it is associated to only the best friends, no other tier level available at this point in time, and to actually activate a potential lucky friend, you have to interact with them. But just know that once you have done your interaction for the day, you are not going to be able to get the lucky friend after that. So yes, pay attention to the blue halo. Once you've got your interaction done, do not keep trying to do it. If someone sends you a gift, don't open it up and expect yourself to get another lucky friend. But there is some clarification beyond that some people had some questions about. So as you will see, highlighted was the focus of this only occurring once per day. Well, actually what it means is that it can only occur once per day per friend. So you can get multiple lucky friends throughout a single day. Step 2 of identifying your lucky friend. You will first off get a notification for it. Secondly, it will show up in your friends list with a particular icon for you to see. And then finally, it will also be available on your friend's profile. This is very important because the worst thing to happen is that you end up getting a lucky friend and then you don't realize it and you're just doing some type of like BS trade or trading for distance or something, and then you end up with a lucky Caterpie or something like that. So make sure you are paying attention to the icons. Step number 3 is performing a lucky trade. You will hit the trade button, go ahead and trade the Pokemon, and you will see that the lucky trade will be done, and then now your friendship is going to go back to just the typical best friend. So once you actually finish your trade, you will then be able to unlock another lucky trade at that point in time with your friend. But this definitely leads into a question of people saying, well, what if I don't actually do the lucky trade once we become lucky friends? Well, there's some good news. This will carry over day over day over day until you can actually do a trade with your friend. Then at that point, it basically just resets. So if you are thinking about some international friends that you have that you're best friends with and you get a lucky trade and you're like, well, wait a minute, maybe I'll see them at a safari event. Maybe I'll see them at Go Fest. You can go ahead and wait until that time period and then of course do your trades then. So now that we have talked about that, go ahead and take a look at this graphic because I think this is going to be important for the discussion that we have in regards to the Pokemon that I would recommend you to focus on. Because it is associated to the best friends, we of course want to use those types of discounts. And what I've done is put everything in the red box that would potentially pertain to you. So keep in mind the most expensive option available would be a shiny like legendary, right, that maybe you don't have in your Pokédex. Keep that in mind because that would cost you 40,000 Stardust, which is definitely something to consider once you are actually going into this lucky trade. But keep in mind, we are going to go ahead and talk about the Pokemon. I've actually got 3 groups that I want to express to you. As far as a general list is concerned, GamePress actually has a very cool graphic that displays some of the Pokemon that I would personally recommend you to focus on that are actually going to be encompassed in all of the lists that I'm talking about today. So yeah, feel free to take a screenshot of that if you want to just kind of like have a brief summary of what you want to focus on. But the first set of Pokemon that I would focus on would actually be legendary Pokemon. I think to your mind, it's going to be like the first thing that kind of comes to mind. Oh, I want this shiny legendary. I want this. Just keep in mind that there are going to be a Stardust associated to this. And of course, because of that, it is also going to be your special trade of the day if you're doing the legendary. So keep that in mind. You can only do 1 special trade per day. But if you are going to focus on a Pokemon, maybe a shiny variant of something that you really want is a smart way to go about it, because if you can guarantee it to be lucky, maybe it would be worth the Stardust to trade like a shiny legendary for a shiny legendary. But there are a couple of red flags that I do want to bring up to you before you start going into this. The first one being the lucky mechanic itself. It actually only gives you a discount associated to just Stardust, not the candy count. And because of that, this means that you are going to have enough rare candies for you to be able to power up all of these legendary Pokemon that you receive. The worst thing ever is just having all of these lucky legendary Pokemon but not having enough rare candy to actually power them up. So definitely keep that in mind. And then of course the secondary thing is that when you're trading these Pokemon, you are going to put off a red flag for your special trade of the day. So if you're trying to group up a bunch of lucky friends and then meet up with them at like I said, a safari event or a Go Fest or something like that, keep in mind you can only do one special trade per day. So that is something that I would definitely consider and keep that kind of in the back of your mind. The next group that I think is worth talking about is Community Day exclusive moves. Now, I'm not talking about just community days in general, for example, like Mamoswine, because it is better as just a normal Pokemon and not necessarily associated to its community day move. But some of them that stand out to me would be like a Tyranitar with Smackdown, a Metagross with Meteor Mash, a Sceptile with Frenzy Plant. You're kind of getting the picture. Pokemon that are good because of their Community Day exclusive move, but because of that, they are technically considered legacy. And so yes, legacy Pokemon kind of fall into this as well. And then the final topic that I would recommend you to focus on would be Pokemon that are just meta relevant in general, that fall outside of the legendary category. So it's only going to cost you 100 Stardust to do it. And once you can go and do this and then develop a team, then maybe you get into the more exotic picks like legendaries and stuff like that. But for example, I would focus on something like a Machamp, a Roserade, something like that, where it's like the top performing Pokemon of its type, and it will only cost you 100 Stardust. These are the Pokemon that I would personally recommend, but I definitely want to know what you think about it in the comments section below. Was there something that I missed? Is there something that you think I could consider? PvP is a big one. Maybe you want to power up a Bastiodon, for example, but you don't want to invest the Stardust. Candy's not an issue, but you're like, oh, I got to get it up to level 40. I definitely want to try to get it lucky if I can. Well, hopefully that covered anything and everything that you would consider about this feature. If you did enjoy it, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and I will see you next time. I wanted to extend a huge thank you to the supporters over at Patreon. You definitely make this possible, and I 100% appreciate this support. If you are interested in supporting my channel on Patreon, definitely feel free to check out the link in the description.